let's go on and let's meet Tiffany Conroy. We are at Codemotion Milan 2040 and welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you.
It's really awesome to have you here and talking about UX.
Yeah, I was talking about how to think about a user experience in order to inform how to implement user restrictions, user capabilities. So.
Okay, could you please explain a bit better or give some tips to our followers?
Yeah, the number one thing is that when people are doing user access restrictions, they maybe haven't encountered it before, and so they're always inventing the problem from new. But in fact, there's already pre-existing approaches, and I looked at the different approaches, and I talked about which ones I thought were the better user experience and which ones would be easier to implement, and just sort of laid them all out for people, and then gave my opinion on which one would work. So it was more of a lesson in, this concept exists, here are some of the terms, here are some things to consider, here's my advice. So yeah, it was a small computer science lesson.
Of course, definitely you are a Codemotion, and you are one of our speakers, yeah. And you are at your first Codemotion, right?
No, this is my first Codemotion this year, but I spoke last year in Rome and also in Milan last year, and also in Berlin, which is where I'm based. So yeah, maybe we'll see people in Berlin again. We'll see.
It could be really awesome. Okay, but let's back about your talk about your experience. I think there's something that has quite changed in this environment about UX and UI. I think that in last years, especially, people understood that the UX should be more user-friendly and the UI more like a science. Yeah. What's your opinion? What's your tip? What's your tips on it?
What I found and what I found when working on this talk and my previous talks that I give is that when you think about how the user is going to experience the site, and I say site because I build web applications, that actually informs how you should develop it. And until developers and designers can have a conversation, it's not possible for developers to see how the user experience or the interaction design can influence their technical decisions. And vice versa, if the designers don't understand the limitations of the technology, they can't design for it. It would be ridiculous to design wooden flooring if you didn't know the properties of wood. And so similarly, a designer for web application should understand the properties of the web. And similarly, if you're building something, you should understand how it's going to be interacted with and what the limitations are. So for me, it's all about making sure the two sides, you don't necessarily need to know everything, you just need to know the terminology on both sides so you can have a conversation about it. Or even just think, maybe I should speak with the designer and find out what I should be taking into account. So for me, it's a lot about opening up conversations between the different people involved in building things. And I'm in a somewhat unique position because I do both roles a lot of the time. So like I said, usually the talks I give are sort of entry or intermediate level, but are at an intermediate level of two areas that people don't normally specialize in order to bridge that gap and get the conversation happening.
Steve Kruger recently said that the science matters. Do you agree?
Does the science matter?
Designs matter.
Designs matter. I think that a lot of programmers think in a very logical way, and when they write code, they're trained to communicate with this machine, and they lose track of the fact that human beings are actually much smarter than machines and much more sophisticated. Yes. And so that makes them think that if they're much smarter, then they can present a simple, quote-unquote, simple interface, and it should be straightforward. But what it actually means is that humans can take advantage of their vast superiority to machines in order to complete a task. And so what matters is understanding what the capabilities of humans are and complementing it with what a machine can do, instead of making a human do what a machine can do. And I think that's the design part, is understanding what is a human's capability and understanding, instead of just preventing a bunch of knobs that humans can interact with. So as developers are trained to speak with machines through code, they lose track of the fact that human beings have a much more sophisticated set of vocabularies and understanding.
Yes, we definitely need some patience with humans.
Yeah.
Okay, Tiffany, I thank you very much to be here, waiting for your talk, and waiting, of course, to see you in Rome again. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.